Hi, good afternoon. My name is Steve Gamos. I'm with GTS Services. I'm one of the owners. Today I'll be speaking to you about fan coil replacement for condo buildings. So in this building in particular, we've got 27-year-old fan coils that we believe have sort of passed their expiry date. The reasons we believe this is because of the mold growth that's occurring inside the cabinets, as well as the rusting drain pans, the other older components that are breaking down like actuators and motors and thermostats, and exposed fiberglass inside the fan coil. Other dangers you have to worry about now with buildings of this age and fan coils of this age is flooding. The drain pans can rust over like they are and create pinhole leaks, as well as the flaking of the cabinet liner. Those pieces can fall into the drain pan and also cause backups. So we are encouraging owners to replace the fan coil units to help improve the indoor air quality, as well as reduce the risk of flooding, and also create some energy efficiencies within the units. So again, older units promote poor indoor air quality because of the fiberglass liner, as well as the mold growth inside. The units being too hot or too cold. On an older unit, you sort of have to dial the thermostat all the way to the right to get some heat in the wintertime, or all the way to the left to get cooling in the summertime. So there is no sort of, it's tough to find a happy medium. Again, flooding being an issue, as well as high energy costs. So components that aren't working in the fan coil unit now create high energy consumption. The old motors use a lot more energy than the new, more efficient motors use. So the lungs of your home. So we consider a fan coil unit the lung of your home because that's where all the heating and air conditioning comes out and blows out into your home. So all the air gets sucked in from the bottom of the unit and then gets blown through the coil and treated, so either heated or cooled, and then blown out the supply, and that gives you your heating or your cooling. This is a fan coil from the building, so as you can see here to the right of the coil, we've got a lot of mold growth on the insulation. The original color of this insulation should be this black color here, but as you can see here, mold has grown throughout the insulation. And again here, same fan coil unit. This is the original color of the insulation, so 27 years ago all the insulation would have been this nice black color, and then 27 years later you've got greens and grays and browns and whites, so all different types of molds that are growing on this insulation. The problem with this is, with mold in a fan coil unit, is that every time the fan coil unit turns on, all that mold and exposed fiberglass then gets blown out into your home. So if you do notice a buildup of dust in your home, this could be a reason why. It's just all the old particulate in here is blowing out and into your home. This is another fan coil unit. So we were back at the building last week, and we're able to open up another fan coil unit. So you can see here again, this nice black color is the original insulation, and then again mold has taken over to the left and to the right side of the coil. Very common for buildings this age to grow mold. You've got 27 years of moisture and mold spore buildup inside the fan coil unit. Food for mold to grow is skin dander, so 60 to 70% of household dust is organic material, that being skin dander, and that accumulates inside the fan coil cabinet as well. The coil produces water during the summer months. The water germinates the mold spores, and then the mold eats the dust, which is accumulated on the walls of the fan coil unit. We ran a test from one of the units, so we did a lift and found several different types of mold spore or molds growing inside, so Alternaria, Asciospores, Aspergillus penicillium, Basidiospores, Cladosporium, Myxomyces, which is a slime mold, and then we also found some pollen and some insect fragments as well inside the fan coil. So seeing a report like this would lead us to know that mold growth is vibrant inside this particular fan coil unit, just because of the number of different types of molds that we had found. These pictures, not from your building, but do show a 30-year-old fan coil unit that we serviced. This is when mold goes unchecked. So If mold were to continue growing inside a fan coil unit, you could see there's almost zero black insulation left, and that mold has taken and grown throughout the entire fan coil cabinet. Comfort, so I spoke about that at the beginning, but again, with the old style thermostat, you're having to turn it all the way to the right to get some heat, or all the way to the left to get some cooling, depending on the season. The older thermostats sort of aren't able to sort of keep your comfort level high, as well as older coils. So like I showed you in the last slide, or 2 slides ago, 3 slides ago, older coils on the front and the back sides do accumulate dust and do restrict airflow and water flow, which is shown better here. So this is the surface that you would see if you opened your fan coil unit, but if you were to look at the back side of this coil here, you could see about 30% of this coil is covered in 20, 30 years of dust and debris. So you only got about 70% of the air able to flow through that coil. Other problems that you get in buildings of this age are all these copper tubes here that run through the coil accumulate sediment. So there is particulate that float around in the water. That particulate will settle over time in those pipes and not allow the full pipe to carry, or the coil to properly heat or cool, again, depending on the season. So we get restriction here physically with dust buildup on the back side of the coil, and then we also do get restriction through these copper pipes. Again, over time, sediment builds up and restricts water. So heating or cooling your home takes longer with an older unit, again, because of airflow and because of the water being able to flow through those coils. Here on the left, so a 30-year-old blower and motor, and then on the right, we've got the new blower and motor with the ECM motor as opposed to the AC motor, PSC motor. So again, ECM motor uses a third of the electricity that your current motors use now, so the building is able to save money on power consumption. Water damage, so 30-year-old fan coil units do tend to flood. The reason for these floods is, again, the insulation. It cracks and flakes and falls into the drain pan, covers the drain hose hole, and can back up. Or that particulate from the insulation or fiberglass could build up in the drain hose as well, and then in the summer months could cause a backup, because then all that condensate water doesn't have anywhere to go. These problems, not only does it affect your nice hardwood floor, but it would also damage the unit owners below you and damage their, say, drywall ceilings, and it could also affect their flooring as well. So older fan coil units, we've found, do tend to cause these problems. And this is why. So here's 2 shots of a drain pan in a 30-year-old unit. As you can see here, the pan is completely rusted over. There's lots of flaking, so any of those flakes can cause a problem by them getting caught in the drain hose here, or like I mentioned earlier too, this insulation can begin to flake, or the mold can flake and also fall into the drain pan, and then flow down into the drain hose and also cause a backup. And on top of that, as this flaking happens, pinhole leaks can develop in the drain pan as well, and where the water would come off the coil, flow into the drain pan, and not make it to the hose, but just drip right through the pan because of a severe amount of rusting. So our answer to old fan coil units is a new fan coil unit. So what does that look like? In newer fan coil units, we use a closed cell insulation like this. The great thing about the closed cell insulation is that it's non-porous. If you were to have a mold problem in the future, we could spray some disinfectant on paper towel and literally wash the problem off. We can't do that with fiberglass insulation because it's very porous. We could vacuum it and clean it all day, but mold will come back just because the material is so fibrous. It will hold on to the mold and spores. We stick to the Abatement Council of Ontario's guidelines and standards when doing remediation. So we would set up a negative air containment tent to do the work within. So this tent gets attached to the fan coil unit. We've got a HEPA neg air machine here. So all the air that is coming out of the work area is filtered through a HEPA filter and then exhausted into the unit. These units are inspected to make sure that no particulate get through the HEPA filter. All the work being done is done within the containment tent, so there's no reason for our guys to leave till after the job is done. So they would set this up, do all the mold remediation, and take out all the fiberglass material inside the fan coil. Then they would wash and disinfect the cabinet, and then they would wash and disinfect the tent, and then the tent would come down, and then the fan coil unit would be relined with the new closed cell insulation. Here's the picture here. So after the unit gets disinfected, here's the new closed cell insulation that gets installed into the fan coil. Again, it's non-porous. It can be washed and to have the dust and mold removed. The manufacturer of the new fan coil is a company called Orem. They're out of Vaughan, Ontario. For the new fan coil unit, we're including a Gentech ECM motor, which is this motor here. Gentech's been around for 30, 40 years, has produced a lot of motors for fan coil units, so it's a very well-known name brand product. A Belimo actuator and three-way valve, so that's this part here. This is what allows the hot or cold water to flow through to the coil, producing your heating or air conditioning. The beauty about having this actuator as well is that you could have the water off, so you can have it so that there's no heating or cooling, but you can turn your fan on. Again, Belimo, a very well-known manufacturer of actuators and valves. K-Flex, antimicrobial closed cell insulation. So relining, again, the interior of the fan coil cabinet with the new closed cell insulation. Honeywell Sweep Pro, an external temperature sensor. So you'll get a new thermostat made by Honeywell. That thermostat has a large display, so you're easy and able to see the number on the screen, so you can properly set your temperature. The great thing about the external temperature sensor is that we're able to tell you, or the thermostat's able to tell you, the better temperature in the room. So right now, your thermostat might be attached to the fan coil unit on the wall. You may also have a speed knob on the wall to control your fan speed. But by utilizing the Honeywell Sweep Pro and the external temperature sensor, we're able to keep you more comfortable in your home. The stainless steel drain pan and float switch and braided hose. The float switch is what we call your insurance policy. So that float switch, if water were to ever build up in the drain pan during the summer months, the float switch would engage, tell the actuator to close the valve, and we would turn your air conditioning off. So you might get upset that you have no air conditioning, but what we just did is save you from a very costly flood. You'd give us a call, we would come clean up the problem, disengage the float switch, and the air conditioning would turn back on. The stainless steel, so the entire chassis of the fan coil unit is made of stainless steel. So again, in the future, you'd never have to worry about rusting drain pans or other rusting components inside, again, because everything will be fabricated from stainless. The manufacturer is offering a 2-year warranty on all parts and all labor, so everything's covered for the next 2 years. And then there's also a 5-year warranty that no mold will grow inside the fan coil unit as long as the inside is cleaned at least once a year by GTS services. So here's a picture of the new thermostat. So this is the Honeywell Sweep Pro. So we've got button for increasing temperature, button for decreasing temperature, button for the fan, and a button to turn your heat or cool on. The great thing about, again, the thermostat and the external sensor is that we could say set this to 72 degrees after the unit gets installed, and you would never have to touch the thermostat again. This will control the unit and always maintain 72 degrees. And then we have some testimonials from some previous customers. So one of the big ones is air quality. So people complaining about, right now they get a lot of dust accumulating in their home. They've found with the new fan coil unit and because of the new insulation, the dust has dramatically dropped, which is, again, a big thing with fan coil units that are approaching 30 or are 30 years old. The original liner does fall apart and does cause dust accumulation in the home. People are happy with the clean and fresh air. It looks great, feels great when I run my fan coil. Definitely money well spent. So this is my conclusion of the presentation. Thank you for listening. If you have any further questions, you can send me an email. I'm at sgiamos, Giamos, at gtsservices.ca, or you could call my office and speak to anyone there. Our number at the office is 647 345-5325. Thank you for your time.